Good afternoon. Good evening. I don't see anyone coming into the class today, but I felt that if even if no one comes, I'm gonna have some slides prepared where I discuss the Ibeji and give those who may or may not have knowledge of the Ibeji an opportunity to learn about them. So, without further ado, I will do just that. And want to give you all a chance to have this information, um, learn from it hopefully, and if there are questions that someone has later, you can ask those questions. The class will likely be a lot shorter because once we have people in the class, there's a lot more interaction, a lot more engagement. But in either case, I'm going to give an opportunity for the Beiji to have their time with everyone. I'm doing this also because since I thought of them and I wanted to celebrate them, I want to make sure that I follow through on my end of celebrating the Ibeji, even if no one else comes spiritually, because I have a very special relationship with Ibeji. So the first thing is, as I do in every class, we'll talk about who and what the Ibeji and Ideyu are, how they come to us, and how do we work with them within the lay structure and in nature. And we'll also have some Arikis where we talk about their energy and their presence among us. So, what and who are the Ibeji? Ibeji and Ideyu. Ibeji means sacred twins. So we have the sacred twins. The word Ibeji means birth of two. So EB is a word basically that means birth, depending on where the accent marks fall in the Yoruba language, because it is a tonal language. It can mean different things because there's a lot of beautiful play on words in the Yoruba tradition and language. But in this case, IBI, which is the first part of the word, is EB, which means birth. Eji means two. So Ibeji, the word, is a conjugation of EB and Eji. And Ideyu is the one born after the two twins. So and they are each have their own place, but generally speaking, if someone has twins, they have a name, two names. Taiwo is the name of the firstborn. Kehinde is the name of the secondborn. The firstborn, Taiwo, is the one who goes out and tastes the world and makes sure it's okay for their sibling to come out. And Kehinde is the one that comes after the one who tastes the world. And interestingly, and science follows this, the Yoruba have always carried in their oral literature and in their beliefs that Kehinde, although born second, is actually the eldest. So the youngest goes out and tastes the world for the elder of the two to come into the world. So those two have their own relationship that way. The Ideyu child is the child born after twins. So if as an Omo in an Ile, if someone is trying to find out who their Orisha is, um, who they are in terms of their birth and their birth situation matters and can determine. And if they're a twin, it's already determined, generally speaking, who your Orisha is, depending on whether you were born first or second, which we'll get to in a minute. And also, if you were the firstborn after twins, then, or your mother gave birth to twins prior to your birth, then you're considered to have a very, very special relationship with Oshun and very, very much likely a child of Oshun. So the Beiji are come in the Yoruba tradition are twins, which means that they represent double blessings or multitude of blessings. So they have and because children are considered to be sacred and special and represent abundance and wealth, because children represent the possibility of continuity of a people, that in itself has its own innate wealth. So children are considered a blessing. Twins are considered a double blessing. This wasn't always the case. That historically, there's evidence that it was not until the reign of Shango, Kabisile Shango in Oyo, that we have the caring for and acknowledgement of twins as sacred beings. So we are very grateful that Shango brought that possibility forth through his kingdom and his rulership. So they represent immortality. I mentioned about blessings of wealth. They represent immortality because through their presence, they can continue on the opportunity for a community to always have a life, always have opportunity to have life, and to have that life go on in perpetuity and greater opportunity for children to be born. The Ibeji in particular are considered to be defenders against negativity, or even in some ways, people would say evil. In Yoruba context, evil isn't, as a concept, is really not one that we focus a lot on. That's really a construct that's influenced Yoruba thinking. But we can say that for sure, because you have the two energies that are working on your behalf together. They're considered to have a unique ability to defend against negative energy or negative issues that someone may be faced with, because they can team up and do things as twins to disturb or distract or disrupt negative energy that one Orisha by him or her self cannot. And so they have a very important presence as disruptors and have a very important role as disruptors of evil. There are many Odu that speak of Ibejis as having this role, having this actually very important and interesting power. So the Ibeji may come into a person's life, in particular Odus like Ejioko, Eji again, because of their particular focus and interest and ability to really help up someone to tackle something with twice the power, twice the might, twice the opportunities for growth. I'm going to go back one again. So that's something that is very sacred to the Ibeji specifically. They also represent, and I will say this about Ideyu specifically too, they represent good fortune, happiness, and joy. Children represent happiness and joy. And in particular, Ideyu is a child that brought great happiness to Oshun in particular. She is a child that, because as we believe in the Lukumi tradition, there are different houses of thought about who gave birth to the Ibeji. In my lineage, it is Oshun who gives birth to twins, and is of course by all lineages Oshun that gave birth to Ideyu. There's a very particular story related to Oshun and Ideyu, and how Oshun had to was able to restore happiness and joy through Ideyu, and address her loss in her ability to keep promises, which we'll talk about later in the Pataki for Ideyu. So as I mentioned before, that these Orisha are connected to, they are their own Orisha, but they have very strong connections to specific Orisha. As you can see with these vessels, the vessels have red and white beads, they have blue and white beads, and they have yellow beads around them. And the Ibeji vessels are blue and white. And the vessel for Ideyu in the middle is yellow. And you can see that the maracas for the Ibeji are both red maracas. And you can see even the dolls for the Ibeji have blue and white beads and red and white beads. This is for a very specific reason. So the firstborn, Taiwo, who is the youngest of the two, is a child who is sacred and has a sacred relationship with Shango. So firstborn twins, who are the youngest of the two, are generally believed to be already have a sacred relationship with Shango. And if someone went forward with their initiation into the as an Ibeji, as a born Ibeji, natally born in Ibeji, they would enter the cult of Shango. As the second born, oldest of the twins, is believed to be sacred to Yemanja. So the oldest second born twin would be, in most cases, initiated to Yemanja. So, and there is, as I mentioned, a very specific reason for that. Children of Ideyu are considered to be children of Oshun because of her relationship with Ideyu, and how Ideyu, for anyone who works with Ideyu, Ideyu is an Orisha that definitely brings happiness, joy. It can be in the form of children, it can be in the form of relationships to children, it can be in other forms as well. But there is a very important relationship with children, and Oshun and Ideyu being central to that. And so in Lukumi legend and regarding the Ibejis, Oshun gave birth to Taiwo and Kehinde, but due to her lifestyle, in Lukumi tradition, due to her lifestyle, she didn't feel that she would have the stability to raise them. And Yemanja took over the role of raising the Ibejis. Um, and so she has also, as caretaker of the Ibejis, a very important role in sacred understanding of the Ibeji. She has a very important role. Shango is considered the father of twins, to Oshun's twins, as in many stories. Of course, Oshun was one of the wives with Shango as Orisha. Oshun was one of his wives, one of his youngest wives. Oba was a wife of Shango. Oya was a wife of Shango. Oshun was his favorite wife, and gave birth to, as I mentioned, the Ibeji, with Shango as the father, which is why you have Shango also having a sacred relationship with the twins. Obatala has a sacred relationship with the twins because of his role in the birth and keeping of all children, particularly children who come with special gifts or special distinctive gifts or qualities that are not normal, quote unquote, or that are not part of a regular childbirth. Obatala, all children who are born as Ibeji come under the sacred protection of Obatala, because Obatala governs over all births that are high risk, or that have some unique quality that renders the children who are born special, whether those children have special qualities as having Down syndrome, having any birth was considered birth defects, having born on the spectrum disorder. Many times those children come under the special protection of Obatala. So he plays a role in all births, clearly, because of his role as the one who molds children in the womb. So clearly he has a role in molding two children in the womb, which a mother must, mother is tasked with giving birth to. But it bears mentioning that the Yoruba people have a unique relationship to twins more than any other group of people in the world. The Yoruba people specifically have a birth rate of twins that is 5 times that of any other population of people who give birth to twins. So though that in itself means that this relationship is very sacred to the Yoruba people, and offers a lot of opportunities to learn about, even despite the fact that many women who there was a lot of infant mortality with the high rates of births of twins amongst the Yoruba, and high rates of maternal health issues and also death. So there's a lot wrapped into this idea of twins and birth in the Yoruba people, and the distinctive mark that they have in the world as having such a sacred and strong and enduring relationship with twins. So how do we work with the twins? And how do we work with Ideyu? Oh, actually, I have one more thing to say. This goes in different. This is a lore that's not consistent amongst a lot of places, but it is believed that in many years ago, that women who had twins, when the twins were not favored, and particularly if the twins were not favored, it was believed that the twin should have another child after, and that that child would hold an opportunity for the mother to regain her happiness, regain her sanity, even, or regain her balance, and all of that. So that child Ideyu plays a role in that way in terms of supporting the mother after having gone through the arduous labor of birthing twins. So I should say that as well. Um, so how do we work with the Ibeji and Ideyu? I think one of the things that comes up many, many, many times for people who have to work with the twins is that people who have to work with twins often have to combat their own feelings of sadness. Someone who oftentimes harbors sadness, harbors just a melancholy feeling, or harbors feelings of doubting that anything is good for them, that they have very little to look forward to in life, or that someone who's lost a child, particularly if that child is a twin, that's also something that comes up for many people. All of these different questions and of what someone who suffered loss, someone who is compounded with a lot of people who are conspiring to make them unhappy, to make them unsettled, or someone who's just felt like they just haven't had a break, haven't had a life that they can feel good, proud, and happy about. The twins and Ideyu come into someone's life to help them to remember the joy and wonder of celebrating life through children. So children, celebrating children may be something that someone may have to do. For example, someone may have to throw a party for the Ibeji. And that means maybe receiving the Ibeji. It may even mean just literally having a children's party. So if a person has a children's party, that means that for that day, as much as you want to be, the curmudgeon and the no stop don't person, for that day, no stop don't does not enter anyone's vocabulary in your home when it comes to children. They can do whatever they want. They can play, they can laugh, they can run, they can eat as much candy as they want, they can listen to music, they can have balloons and popping balloons. They can have all the fun. And so the thing about, and I've experienced this having Ibeji parties in my home, the thing that happens when you have the Ibejis enter your home and the energy of children into your home, and you have them literally coming and going through your entire house, running, playing, laughing, playing tag, playing ball, playing games and making games up and playing and having nothing but fun and having a memorable time in your home. And speaking of how much fun they're having, they are literally chasing away negativity in your house. They're literally chasing away any heavy or dark energy in your house. They are literally chasing away any and all conspirators against you. And normally at the end of such parties, there's what's called either three things can happen. In my lineage, we do a popcorn fight. We have a cake that is not used to eat. It is used to smear on the host by the children. So the children get to put their hands in the cake and smear it all over the person, wherever they want, in your hair, in your ears, in your face, on your face, on your hands, on your legs, in your feet, between your toes. and they're laughing and playing the whole time. One of the most joyous um, times I've had at an Ibeji party was an Ibeji party that I attended in Cuba. It was absolutely glorious. And all we did with the kids, we had balls. We had we had balls, we had toys that we picked up in, little play things, little hand toys that we play and hand games. But all the kids wanted to do was play with us. So we played ball with them. So we saw how long we could keep balloons in the air, balls in the air. And everyone was hitting the ball across the room and hitting balloons across the room and having a good time. And every now and then they'd stomp on them and smush them and just, and of course the pop would make everything loud and we would joke, but the kids would be absolutely laughing hysterically. And at the end, the host of the party had the kids just literally cover her with cake, and they were laughing so hard they could barely stand up. They were having so much fun and just smearing her entire body with cake. Um, and just and that was, and what that was doing for her in that moment was reminding her of the wonder and power of children to take away negativity. And they literally were cleaning her as they were smearing her with the cake and ensuring that she had no obstacles in front of her, no enemies in front of her, no inner negative or dark energy in or around her. And so and when we cleaned up, and so what the thing is so you finish all of that, you clean up the person or you clean up the popcorn, and the party ends when you sweep out everything that they used to clean, whether it's the cake, the popcorn, candy that's thrown, because when the popcorn fight happens, it gets pretty wild. And everybody's throwing everything all over the place, right? And when you sweep everything out past, and then the kids have to leave immediately after that happens. And when they leave the front door, you sweep out all of the things that were thrown or in the fight after them, and you're literally sweeping out all, they're taking and carrying out on your behalf all of that negativity. And when that happens, if you sit in that space after that moment, you feel levity, you feel light, you feel like you feel it. And that's what they bring you. They bring you that feeling of, wow, okay, whatever was on my heart that I was so worried about, whatever was on my head that I was so worried about, it's gone. So celebrating children through those Ibeji parties, caring for children. If you see a child in need in your immediate environment, and you have something that you're told through divination that you have to care for children, making sure that children are in good care and feeling good and happy, maybe something that you do, and particularly for twins. So if you know twins, or in your family, or you have people that you know who are young kids who are twins in your family, saying you'll bring the twins over for a day just to if you have twin girls that are like 11 years old, and everything's COVID safe, of course, having a spa day with the twins, having a day where they can just have a dance party and do play, and if they're twin girls, they want to play makeup and play paint the nails and play hair, doing the hair or whatever. Giving them joy gives you an opportunity to experience joy. And that blessing that you give the twins as sacred beings literally is a blessing for you. So celebrating and caring for children is an actual sacred process, as well as something that we consider to be particularly moral or or ethical. It's also spiritual for us, spiritual opportunity and blessing that comes from that. So with that, when that party is over, when you sweep the things out of your house, when you take the cake that you cleaned yourself with and you clean yourself off and you throw it in a garbage can away from your house. That is an opportunity when you make a bowl, when you make sacrifice, and because making a party like that is considered a sacrifice. When you make that sacrifice to make a party for the Ibeji, that is an opportunity to open up a communication with them about what you're willing to accept in your heart too. So if they're coming to give you a gift of peace, of serenity, of happiness, of joy, what are you welcoming for yourself in return? That's the question. You can make the choice at that point to welcome in more opportunities to receive joy and happiness and get the chip off your shoulder that they helped you to get off. Because if you put it back on your shoulder, then what was the everyone sacrifice for? That's a question. And so you have a chance to have a new perspective on life once you make this sacrifice, once you do this act. The act in itself isn't the only thing that helps you to have that blessing. Your own understanding of how you operate in the world and what you're willing to give to the world in return for what you've been given by the Ibeji, which can be receiving joy and happiness and contentment, but also how are you giving that in the world? Question that for yourself. Am I actually being in my own presence for other people? Am I giving joy? Am I giving happiness? Am I giving contentment? Or am I living am I always cynical all the time? Am I complaining a lot about things? Am I making people feel as if what I say and do really isn't helpful? You know, what am I doing for myself? So, you know, observing that in yourself, observing how you are is important. So remember that. Remember that how you show up in the world is as important as what you're asking for the Orisha to give to you, particularly the Ibeji. So aim to live in harmony. Aim to be a vessel of harmony. And give yourself the opportunity to not see the world as against you if you feel that way. And it's not that there may not be things out there that make you feel angry or make you feel unsettled or make you feel concerned or make you feel like you're losing hope. But you have a tool now that can help you restore hope. So once you use that tool to help you to do better and more in terms of how you show up in terms of living in harmony with the world around you rather than in opposition to your life. Because oftentimes when that happens, when we live in that opposition to what's happening in our lives, we're oftentimes fighting a destiny we're meant to live through. So rather than fight that destiny through how you feel about what you're going through, live in some acceptance and give yourself an opportunity to learn a divine lesson through that acceptance that can help you move past it rather than put up your dukes against it, particularly if you have a tool that helps you to overcome it. So let the Ibeji be a tool of liberation for you, a tool of a liberation from sadness and despair, as they've been for the Yoruba people for so many decades and centuries even. So I mentioned already in some respects the Oshun and the birth of the Ibeji. So the Ibeji were born to Oshun with Shango, and she was um, tasked with caring for her children, but her life in work, and she didn't have a place to settle. She wasn't settled in her home. She wasn't settled in her routine. She wasn't settled in a way that she felt she could be a mother. And so her sister, Yemanja, supported her and gave her children a home with her and gave them what Yemanja is supposed to give: nurturance, um, motherly attention, made sure that they were taken care of in all the ways that children need to be taken care of. And so we always thank Imanja for the role she played in supporting uh, the Beji, our sacred children, as well as all children that way. And this was one of the reasons and ways how Yemanja is known as motherly. Even though Oshun protects mothers, particularly those who are carrying children, she rules over the fluids of the body, um, and the rivers that flow through the body, but also the fluid that protects those children in the womb. So Oshun is very important in that. But Yemanja plays a role in making sure that children are well cared for. She is the mother of us all, and played that role for sure with the Ibeji. So as I mentioned also briefly, before Shango before Oshun gave birth to twins, um, there were many kingdoms did not worship the sacredness of twins, and in some kingdoms, um, children who were born as twins were considered to be an abnormality and were not worshipped. They were actually banished, and some very horrible things happened to twins because of that. But with Shango, of course, went to his diviners, asked them about this sacred rite of working with the twins, and he was told through his diviners that he should worship these children and care for these children. Um, there are also many patakis with children that are connected with what's called Edun, or the monkey. There's a lot of symbolism and a lot of connections and sacred stories that talk about how um, the a farmer who had, I believe it was a banana tree, did not had these monkeys that had this one monkey that was always eating his bananas, and and he was very upset about this because he could not, sell his wares because this monkey was always eating, or it was maybe bananas or fruits or some other fruits or whatever. I didn't review this. Pataki is coming to me now. So when he noticed, he would try to either set traps for this monkey or do things to harm the monkey, of course, and so that the monkey could not continue to destroy his crops, because because the monkeys were considered a nuisance. So he was, as he was trying to destroy these monkeys, he was trying to get rid of them. He was very concerned, so he went to his diviners and was told that these monkeys were not to be messed with, that he should leave them alone. He didn't listen to his diviners, because he felt like he just could not. So he was told to make Ebo, but he never made Ebo. Initially, he didn't make Ebo. So his wife, meanwhile, was trying to have children. And she was having a lot of difficulty having children. And so, and meanwhile, every chance he got, he would see these monkeys and he would kill the monkeys. He would trap them, kill them, dismantle, get rid of them. And so his diviners told him that the monkeys that he is killing is affecting that he needed to care for these monkeys and not kill them. And so after many desperate attempts to have children, he finally listened to his diviners. And so once he listened to his diviners and he started to let the monkeys live, the monkeys actually came in multitudes to his house, and they ate his crops and all of that. But in keeping the monkeys, he actually, oh, he actually, his wife was able to bear children. In fact, she bore many children and bore twins. So the birth of these twins was considered a sacred blessing. And so the monkeys, are called Edun, were considered to be sacred to twins because of the way that this farmer who could not bear children now was able to bear children with while caring for and making sure that the monkeys were no longer banished from his property. So there's a lot of songs that we sing that relate to Edun, the monkey, and the connection between the monkey and the Ibeji. The story of Oshun and the Iroko tree. So Oshun was, this was after she had had the twins. She was very sad and lonely. And eventually, and she went to the Iroko tree and talked to the Iroko tree and prayed with the Iroko tree. And the Iroko tree is a very large tree that in found throughout Nigeria, but definitely Yoruba land, where many, I've mentioned Iroko, I'm sure before. It's a place where many sacred rites are held. It's a place where lots of sacrifices are held. Many sacred beings and energies, when they descend to earth, make the Iroko tree their home. Because the Iroko tree in itself is a very sacred and powerful being that happens to be in the form of a tree. So Oshun went to the Iroko tree and cried to the Iroko tree and told the Iroko tree how sad she was and how she longed for something to help her to be happy. And so the Iroko tree let Oshun know, I will grant you what you ask for. I will give you a child. But if I give you this child, you have to promise that you will bring the child back to me. So the child is not yours. You'll have the child for a while, but the child belongs to me. You have to bring the child back to me. And so Shun said, "Oh, sure, yeah, I will do that." And so she made a promise to the Iroko tree that she would bring the child back to the Iroko tree after a time. So Shun goes away from the Iroko tree. She becomes pregnant. She gives birth to Ideu. She has Ideu. Ideu is this child that brings her so much joy, so much happiness, so much contentment, and so much absolute joy and bliss. And so she fell in love with this child, and she did not want to give the child back to the Iroko tree. And so she was distraught. She didn't know what to do because she knew that the Iroko tree would come looking for her child. And she didn't want the child to be given back to to the Iroko tree. So what she did was, and she had a boy, she dressed the boy in clothes that would disguise the child to look like a girl, so that the Iroko tree would not recognize the child that he gave Oshun as he was as a boy. And so for many people who had Ideyu, um, when they had Ideyu in their, and so she was able to keep um, Ideyu close to her, and she never let Ideyu out of her sight. She always kept Ideyu close to her so that she can make sure that he never was taken away from her. So for many people who have Ideyu, myself included, we keep Ideyu very close to Oshun. And many Ilays in Lukumi tradition dressed Ideyu as a girl. So puts on like pretty clothes, like pretty, like very nice, nice pretty clothes to make Ideyu shine, but also to disguise Ideyu potentially as a girl. So to pretty Ideyu up so that Ideyu is not taken by the Irokuchu. So those are my patekis I wanted to share for today. And this is the presentation for on Ideyu and Ibeji. I hope that if anyone has any questions, that I'm going to make sure I get this loaded so you guys can see it. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask.